this later. Nikon batteries.
No. I was like, what are you talking about?
No, so I grabbed that to throw on a charger just because I've got a senior session and I got to leave in 2 hours. So
make sure you have plenty of power.
I've got 2 charging right now. Everything else should be good just because it's just been bang. Like I had 3 sessions, 2 seniors and 1, well, for my kid yesterday. Yep. So like I was tired. That's why my morning Snapchat was, this is my Sunday, at least Sunday morning.
You don't have to get ready and just take off.
I don't have to
go.
be anywhere until, oh shit, hold on. We don't have a backlight on. Give me a second. I better remedy that. Be right back. Typical Nikon shooter forgetting shit.
One of these days we'll have this stuff down.
Nah.
Probably not.
That's boring. Boring, just like properly lit photographs.
Yeah. Flat. Some of them.
That should look good. Does it look good? It looks good. Yeah, boring like a properly lit photograph.
There you go.
So, well, let's see. It is, what day is it?
Monday.
It's Monday.
I don't know what the date is, but
it is October 17th. It is my brother's birthday. So it is Monday, October 17th. Welcome to Exposed. I am Tim.
I am Jason.
And happy to have you guys. We decided to actually film this during the day instead of night because we're busy.
Yeah, this is normally about my nap time.
Well, I rolled out of bed at 10 a.m. this morning.
Well,
so.
I got out of bed a little bit sooner than that, but it was a late night, early morning. I had plenty of stuff that I wanted to get done today, and then I knew we were planning on recording anyway, and I was gone yesterday. I was gone all day Saturday, and I don't even remember what I did Friday, so
I don't even know.
I don't recall, but it really doesn't matter. Days just kind of blend into each other anymore, and that's just kind of how things go. And
that's the joy of being self-employed.
It is. And right now it's just getting caught up on the editing and stuff, and my photography kind of for the year is kind of winding down. It's just the edits, and so I'm not really taking on any new clients or projects or anything like that. It's get everything finished up. I should have mine finished up today or tomorrow. And then it's just plugging away at the rest of the weddings that are left.
Yeah, we've only got a few left to edit, I think.
Yeah, and then we had the one from this past weekend on top of that, and then the one that's coming up this coming weekend. And I don't know how many more you got, but I think that kind of about winds out.
So I've got October 22nd, which is this weekend. So we are at that one where it's Swiss Acres again, and then my next one is not until December 18th. Is it 18th? We're both shooting on the 18th somewhere.
It's right around there, I think.
It's around
17th, 18th.
Yeah, that weekend in December. Third weekend or second weekend. Fuck you, my bro. I don't know.
Because it's actually what's really weird is typically I shoot for Brady, and a year ago I shot that winter concert for him. That was how I met him and how we got started together. Well, it happens that his wedding or his winter concert is on a Saturday this year, which is that same weekend.
Right.
So I told him, I don't know what we're gonna do there, and
send Josh.
So, and that's probably what I'll do, and I don't know if he's gonna do anything else, but the nice thing about having Josh is, I've kind of trained him, how to shoot, how I look at images. I think actually, I think I might even I was planning on bringing him to that wedding too, but I might send him. I'll talk to Brady this week, I think is what we're planning to sit down. It didn't work out last week, and
well, you could always. So if you wanted, you can bring him Saturday.
Right.
Like I know he enjoyed coming. I know last time, and I don't know, maybe I just pay him to come get some behind the scenes shot. I still haven't looked at what he sent me, but I think he did, and that was in that wedding's already been delivered, photo and video. But
and it was one of them things. I rolled through them images and gave him some pointers. And the one thing that he didn't realize, and I had mentioned this to you as well, but for some new shooter going into that situation, if he would have shot that wedding by himself, there was so many of them images that would not have worked.
Were they flickering?
Because they were flickering so bad.
The lighting, some of the lighting there is very difficult at the Red Shed.
Yeah, and he had some type of rolling shutter issue or something going on, and there's lines through everything. And
we'll have to go over like frame rates and 180 degree rule and all that other stuff just to make sure there's no chatter, all of that stuff. But yeah, no, it's been When did we do this? We did this the other day, didn't we? Like Thursday, Wednesday,
something like midweek last
seems
week.
Like seems like forever ago.
We did that. We did last Sunday because we'd been kind of, we did that first one on a Sunday, so then we did it again the following Sunday.
Right.
And then it was one of them nights I didn't really have anything going on, and I was just sitting at home editing, and it was just like, I need to get out of the house. I'm like, you want to record an episode?
Yep.
And you're like, come up tonight. And then I was sitting there, and I was kind of nodding off, and I'm like, I haven't heard from Tim. It's like going on 8 o'clock. I'm like, he probably forgot about it, or he's just tired. And then about that time, you sent me a message. You're like, I'm home in 20 minutes or something like that. I'm like, all right, well, I better start getting ready.
Yeah, we were in Spencer or something. We picked up some groceries after something, so we were on our way home. But tis the season. I laughed. Somebody shared a meme last week, and it was October is the photographers.
I think you said that last week, too.
Did I say?
Yeah.
Yep. It just keeps ringing in my head. October is to photographers as April is to accountants. And I'm like, no, that is June for me through. And then next month's already stacking up. I thought next month was going to be dead. And I think I said that last year, too.
Right.
November's going to be dead. November's going to be dead. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, can you do... I actually just had a senior request this morning. Is there any still way to get a fall picture? And I'm like, well, I have one opening... that Melanie and I share the same calendar. And so like her stuff, kids stuff, everything gets put on there. And I just kind of look and see if there's stuff on the day.
Yep.
If there's stuff on the day, I just go to the next one when I'm looking at dates. I don't always read it. Well, they had messaged me this morning. They were like, hey, is there any way to squeeze in another fall senior picture? And I was like, in November. And Mel goes, well, we have this date. And I go to look, and I'm like, oh, well, you have 2 things on here. I go, I guess I just looked at 2 things and figured there's at least one shoot in there because, that's kind of the way it goes. And she goes, no. She goes, that's this and that's this. And I'm like, oh, well, cool. So I messaged the gal back, and I don't know if she's seen it yet, but yeah, no, that would be my last October availability unless somebody does like early morning. I always hate it when I have to do like, I did at 2 o'clock yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
And then
it's a tough time to shoot in, and
it
often leaves you uninspired. I mean, come wedding days, you just have to shoot when you do. So, you got different tips and tricks that you can use. But when you're working with seniors or anything like that, you kind of want to look for the best light and work with the best.
This worked out okay. The problem wasn't necessarily light, and it was kind of crappy yesterday, but light-wise, but it was windy. Like we started, the wind's coming up, and
That's
I'm
right.
like,
yeah, I was gone yesterday.
Oh, this
all day,
sucks. So. And then, because I had a senior in the morning, and then I had a senior last night, and the morning one, Caden wore a hat. Like,
right.
Yeah. Caden, take the hat off. Mom needs some without a hat on, right?
The typical guy shoot.
Right. That'd be like photographing me. Like, how many pictures do I have without a hat on?
Right.
Very few.
Wedding days, and that's about it.
Wedding days, occasional nice family picture or whatever. But, and then Ike last night, and he had the typical. I always refer to the guys with their poodle haircut.
Right. Yep.
Because they're curly and they're poofy on top. So, but yeah, no. And we were, I burnt all the hair off my hand last night doing fire. So I have one hand with no hair. You having to explain the fire stuff and sign releases and all that other stuff to cover.
Yep.
Because so if anybody has seen those pictures, I don't have the request for it very often. I just wanted to do something different. And his mom was like, I go, well, what do you want? I want badass images. I'm like, well, what do you want? I just want something badass. Okay. I'm like
something different.
I'm like, you want to sign a waiver for fire? She's like, whatever looks cool. And I'm like, okay.
Yep.
I got you. I got some cool stuff. So we had to kind of a couple of the guys were because I could already turn in his gear. So he's borrowing a friend's. Well, his friend was having senior pictures done yesterday too. So they were trying to alternate who was at the field. Right, we happened to be there. And we just finished our stuff up out on the field part and getting ready to find a spot to do this. And then his buddy rolls up. So I'm like, okay. So I went over to talk to the photographer. I know her. And, I said, how soon till you need these pads? And she was like, well, and I go, can you give me 15 or 20 minutes? And since we were I didn't want to interrupt her time, and I had time, and I was
Yep.
okay with the light going down because I always carry a big light kit with me.
Yep.
And she did not have a
Right.
light
She's
kit.
all natural light.
She uses strobes.
Okay.
I don't know if she uses them like out on location like I do, but I know in churches and stuff she does for
Gotcha.
weddings and stuff.
Yep.
Just because I have filmed when she's photographed.
Right.
But so I said, you know what? I said, just do whatever you need to do. You know, I talked to Ike's mom, and I was like, Charlie, if you need to, you know, she's like, you know, we'll run into town real quick, you know, and I'm like, I need a torch lighter because it was a little breezy.
Yep. You're not
So
just gonna
so
use
the
a
regular
Bic
lighter was just having trouble. So I'm like, I need a torch. She's like, perfect. So they took off for 15, 20 minutes. By the time they got back, his buddy was done. They left the pads, and I said he'll bring them to you tomorrow.
Right.
And it works out good. And that's just one of the prime ways that I want to explain to people. Like, I don't have a problem working with other photographers on
Right, yeah.
even at the same location. When we had I had that. Where that? I did senior pictures earlier last week, and we were in Okoboji and or Lower Gar area, and there's a bridge and stuff, and a gal was doing. She had mini sessions all lined up, and she was like, "I'm gonna," and I said, "That's fine." I said, "I'll stay out of your way. Like I have no problem. Like I can work around
Right,
everybody.
yep.
Some people just can't shift that fast." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Whatever you need." You know, I want people when they talk about me and you and what we do to be
Right.
like, "Those guys are awesome."
Yep.
They're you know,
They're good to work with and
Right.
and you know or easy to work with. And,
Well,
and I've had that same issue down when I was in Des Moines. You know, you have these spots around the city that kind of everybody starts to know.
right.
So you're gonna run into other photographers. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you know, and it's the same way when we're doing landscape photography. You go to some of these, you know, world-class destinations or whatever. I mean, you're gonna have tourists. You're gonna have other photographers. You know, just be courteous to each other. I've had situations where there's photographers that show up and they don't care. You know,
Right.
they are entitled to that picture, and they will let you know that they're entitled to that picture. And there's always one in every location. You know, I've been in locations where there's 150 photographers trying to take the same picture at the same exact time in this little bitty window. And here came that guy that showed up 15 minutes before sunrise
stood
or
in front of
sunset
everybody.
and set his tripod up right out in front of everybody. And he told everybody, learn to use Photoshop. And he about got run out of there real quick.
You know, I kind of give props to the guy a little bit. So it's okay to have a set of balls once in a while.
Yeah.
Now, and I know I was kind of the dick photographer Saturday because we'd stopped at the park for a couple photos real quick. We were just going by there, and there was another group, wedding group further down the street in the park, photographing. So, and they were kind of where we wanted to be, but they didn't look like they were anywhere near done. So I grabbed my group, piled them in the middle, put the roof garden behind them, said, "All right, cheese, you know, have a great time. Snap, snap, snap. Boom, let's get out of her shot."
Yep.
And get out of their way, you know.
You're in and out of there.
Because I did not want to be like down, like, you know, I could have been one of those jerks that like, okay, we're going to set everything up here. And I'm like, no, I just want this one shot. We can do it in 30 seconds.
Yep.
So I got everybody in, piled them in, everybody climb up. You know, everybody literally is like climbing on each other.
Yep.
And
Yeah, you know the shot. You've shot the shot before.
Right.
And this is what we're going to do real quick. Follow
I
this,
just didn't
done.
want to be. I didn't want to be in their way. But
Yep.
we had a hell of a Saturday. That was, it was a good day, and I'd never shot at that church, and I hadn't been to the barn because we were at the Catholic Church in Milford.
Yep.
You know, and then the barn in Boji, which I hadn't been at this year, and so it actually worked out really well when we were doing all the group pictures. And you went up and got the detail
Right,
shots,
yeah.
and you got your lighting all figured out and how you wanted to have it up there for the reception. So that was super dope.
Yep.
But well, I guess when you went up, I guess tell me what you thought when you went up there and when you were getting ready to kind of figure out your lights.
So when I was, you know, at the reception, I've been kind of playing with, you know, the AD200s for a few of the weddings that we've had, and or even some of the ones I've had by myself. And it's just, you know, trying to play around with what works and what don't work. When I went in that scenario, you know, it's one of them deals. You got the rafters working the way they are, so you know you can't bounce across them because it's just not going to work. It's going to catch that, just like a grid pattern is going to do. So I wanted to bounce them off that one wall where I put the lights at. So to the one side of the bank. So I set up that first light just off center to the where the bride and groom were, pointed, straight at the whole deal. It's got a diffused lamp on it, and it's probably hitting the bride and groom at close to a 40-degree angle, something like that. So that would give them some nice dramatic lighting. It's going to light a little bit underneath. It's elevated a little bit. It's going to give them more of that that Paramount look where they got that shadow underneath their face. And then on top of that, I moved and went the other direction with the other light and pointed that directly at the ceiling. And, I was looking at the angles of the barn and how the roof line came together. And I wanted to hit that one wall, almost straight up above them where it was going to bounce, the angles was going to bounce that light straight back down, straight onto their face. So it would give them that nice light from up above, but then they also had that light coming in from the side to help kind of chisel them out a little bit.
Did you look at your images?
I haven't even put the cards in yet. So.
Well, I know they're in the.
I just dropped the cards off. I haven't even looked at them yet.
And, they're in the backup file. I ended up because you had to bounce, and because I know you had your film club and stuff in Des Moines, so I grabbed the rest of your stuff. But so I shot on the. I just switched my trigger over, and so I used the flash for speeches because I had my video lights up, but I had them a ways away.
You're right. Yep.
So I had the CLX-10. Which was clear back in the corner by the bar, kind of facing over to the main table. And then I had, what was that other little one that I bought? And it's almost as bright
little
as
LED.
But I bought, so it was the plug-in one, the one that runs off the plug-ins. And so I had that one kind of over cross-lighting them a little bit. And then I adjusted, your 8200 that was in front of them just because as a fill, and it ended up turning out really good. The only thing I had a little trouble with it at first is because mom and dad were doing, it was her parents, and they were doing their speeches. Well, they had their back right to my main light.
Oh, yeah.
So then I ran over and I kicked the other one on because I hadn't planned on running that other one until dances.
Well, and that's, and like you talked about, kind of having to shift what you're doing and stuff like that.
Right.
You can set them lights up. You never know how it's going to go. Same thing as the entrance. How many times have we been told they're going to come this way and they're going to loop this, and then all of a sudden it changes, or the one group goes one way, another group goes the other, and they have an idea in their head. You can tell them what they're going to do, and a lot of times they'll just do what they're going to do anyway. Right. And so you just kind of roll with it like that. But sometimes you have to be ready to switch, and if this happens, but for me in the street photography, and I don't know if you deal with this much in the portrait world as well, but it's you're planning that shot out ahead of time, but you're asking yourself what could happen. Not what only could go wrong, but what could happen. What if that person comes and walks this direction? And that's all of what street photography is. Right. It's constantly shifting and being ready to go. And what if this happens, or what could happen out of this scenario?
Or somebody comes over and turns your light because they thought it was too bright.
Yep.
That drives me nuts. So what I did, and the cool thing about the way you had set them up is, I had never put a light in the middle of the room, but I'd also never had the head table where it was at. The dance floor is typically up by the DJ, which we're going to get to him shortly. And so what I did, so they got through the speeches, and they needed 20 minutes to move tables, clean stuff up.
Yep.
And so that gave me a chance to move my lights over. And I just used the video lights instead of using strobes, just because it's Melanie doesn't like using a strobe trigger.
Yep.
So if I set it to video light, then it's constant. It's easier for her.
Yep. She can see kind of a little bit more what's going on.
With the mirrorless, it's the what you see is what you get type of thing. So she can kind of see where everybody's at. So I actually took, I put the CLX-10 on one side and then the other video light on the other, and then I umbrella them this time.
Okay.
So I usually use a little harder light, but they've got the big chandelier up underneath the barn. And so they're getting ready to do dances. and the manager goes and turns the light down on the chandelier. I'm like,
Right.
oh, hey, can you turn that back up, please? And she just looks at me, can you please make it brighter? Like, I don't want it so dark.
Right.
And so got it up, and then it balanced everything. So, you know, I side lit them, and then I would move with them. So then, you know, if mom or dad returned or whatever, then, or the bride and groom, you know, you'd actually get a nicely lit face and stuff. Yep. So that was good. And that was the first time I was at that barn. It's been a year. It's been over a year. And I've learned so much more about lighting since the last time I was there.
Yep.
And I had always said that I was like, the barn's hard to light. And now it's not hard to light.
I've never been in there. So, you know, when the second I walked in there, it was the first time seeing it.
Right.
And, you know, it was just, you know, trying to figure out where they're going to be sitting, how things are going to go. And, you know, with how they had the tables set up even, I knew, you know, getting them lights set up, because if we would have went in there later and tried to set them lights up, I know you even had issues with it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just chocked full of people, and you could not get to the sides and where you wanted to put a light. And so, you know, it was nice doing it the way that we did. Go in, get the shots when nobody else was there, set up the lights that I had. And so when everybody comes back later after that ceremony, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
And
no, it worked out really, really good. And the coolest, I think the coolest part of that night was when we were sitting there. So we'd all follow the wedding party down like we typically do. Yep. To go get supper, and we were with Mackenzie, the wedding coordinator. She wasn't a planner. And you know, we're sitting down there, and then everybody keeps cheering. And I looked at you guys. I'm like, I feel like we're missing something,
right?
Like
because we never hear
and
that kind of cheering.
I go, are
typically.
they doing something that we need to be up there for? So
and we're like, well, half the people are still down here
the
getting
wedding,
lunch,
like,
so they're not.
Mom and Dad are still down there, right? You know, so we eat real quick, and then I run upstairs, and I get up there, and the guy's name is Randy Andrews. And you guys will have to check him out.
I'll post a picture of his car. Well,
I'll put a link to his website in the description. But
he was incredible.
We walked up there and he's singing.
Right.
Like
he's holding the mic,
singing.
and it's like it's straight up karaoke, and
he's good.
He is nailing every song.
Good. Like he can do this.
Well, when we were sitting down there listening, I was like, I know these songs, but like these are like somebody else has recorded a voice on it, because these are not who actually sings these songs.
Right.
But I'm like, but I like some of that type of stuff, and you know, I like discovering new music and musicians that way.
Oh yeah.
And I was impressed, and I was like, man, I wish I knew who this was. Well, it turns out it's the DJ.
Right. I think I did record some, but I didn't have my XLR inputs and all that stuff, just because I had zero plan on doing video.
Right.
So I did record him singing a little bit. I should dig it up and see if it sounds good, because I literally put a lav mic by his speaker.
Right.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I ended up getting his card, because I was like, this is just it's a different option for everybody, and it's cool. Like it's not like, so the movie The Wedding Singer kind of ruined the wedding singing part, right?
Yeah,
you know, but he was totally, it was not cheesy. It was just really, really good. He was a good MC. He was a good DJ. He kept everything going, really, really nice.
It was a dinner with a show.
Kind of, yeah.
And that's what it was. It wasn't just eating dinner, talking amongst yourself, and you know, with background music. Like, he's up there, everybody's grabbing their food or sitting down eating their food, you know, enjoying their company, and the music wasn't overpowering or anything. But it was just nice background music, but with him singing as well. So it just added to the ambiance of it. You know, it's just not that static DJ. And you know, even with photographers, you know, we talked DJs last week. There's a different experience with different DJs.
Oh yeah.
Some of them run that room in that night exceptionally well, and he did that.
Yeah, he did a great job. So if anybody's looking for anything, and he does
hypnotism and stuff
hypnotism,
like that.
Motivational speaking. He's got some coaching things, but just overall, and a really sweet guy, like really nice guy, and that's always cool to see. And we exchanged cards, and then Mackenzie, the coordinator, did a phenomenal job all day long. She really helped us out. Like, what do you need? Here's the rings. Here's this. What do when do you need? And so that all worked out really, really good. She helped me coordinate with Dad and Joseph for first look, which that church, that little garden that
you
they
showed
have
me the pictures
of
on the
the
back
sanctuary.
Of your camera,
I'm like, oh man,
that was pretty ridiculous.
The light was perfect. There was, we were able to get the big grand staircase in the front. We were able to get photos with that. We got fun photos with the wedding party, and it was just another day that just worked out really, really good. Everybody had a great time, and the weather cooperated. It was she was happy because everybody was cold and she was not, because she had a pretty good size dress on, and that was always her thing. She goes, I want it to be cool out, So it was in the 60s or low 60s, I think, on Saturday, and it worked out great. It was just a great overall wedding day. I mean, stopping at the brewery and getting to have a drink,
right?
Which I guess I'm sure some photographers tied on a little bit.
I'm sure some.
But,
I'm sure some do.
But if the wedding,
we will typically have a drink.
We'll have a drink or two with it, and I know, because we went from there to which I've got video of that car that is full of Natty Ice cans and cases, which is, it was funny. Like if somebody opens that back door, like it's all falling out.
Right,
I'll upload that clip and I'll throw them in there, because that was pretty incredible. So, but we went from there to, we stopped at the park for 2 pictures and then went to the Ritz, and the Ritz, there was that guy there.
Right, yeah.
The guy was there. So Jason, when he posted earlier about recording an episode of this, the other comment was stolen photos. And I had a photo stolen this week.
Yep.
Or last week. It was, I don't remember which day it was.
And it's something you don't think about, and
I hadn't even thought about it. So what happened is that I did senior pictures, and I've got the kid is in the grain tank on the combine. It's full of corn, arms stretched out.
Yep.
I'll drop the picture in right here. And it's a cool photo. Dad downloads it, posts it up for Farmer's Day. Well, the guy, who I guess is his cousin, downloaded it off his page, submitted it to KTIV as his own photo. And Mel goes, "Isn't this your photo?" Like, she's scrolling through Facebook. She goes, "Isn't this ours?"
Yeah, because I even seen that photo, and I'm like, this looks like a Tim image.
Right.
And I was even going to, screenshot it, send it to you and be like, this photographer looks an awful lot like you.
Right.
And,
yeah, it put me in a good mood, as we're going to get groceries. It was when we got groceries. So, I was still a little tense that day. So I messaged KTIV. I said, "Hey, this is a copyrighted photo. I own the photo. I do not know who this is that submitted it, but they don't have my permission. That is not for usage rights."
Correct.
And so I simply said to them, I'm like, "Hey, all I'm asking for is you to just delete whoever sent it to you, and you need to tag me and my business page."
Right.
So they didn't tag it. They commented. So Tim Fox, TFC Photography and Film. Okay. Not everybody knows how to tag. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, right? So then I put in the comments, tag the page, right? And this photo is growing. It is the most liked and most shared photo I've ever had.
Right. And somebody took that thunder from you.
And so then, and I was a little okay with, I'm like, okay, it's not how I wanted it, but we'll just let it roll. All right. It's not that, everybody loves that photo. I look at it, I'm like, well, I could have done this different, right?
Right.
But
yeah,
it was literally, it was a 30-second photo, because the sun was dropping. I mean, we had no time. And then Kim Reynolds shares it, right? And then so what's going on that? And I go in, like somebody tells me, "Hey, Kim Reynolds has it up." So then and she shared the KTIV post. So I go and I tag my business page back in the comments, "Hey, photo by," and the guy comments, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I couldn't do that," or something along those lines.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh, I didn't think about giving you credit, right? And I said, "Okay, all right," and I let it go. And we stopped in the Ritz with the wedding party, and he's there. And Melanie goes, "Tim, you're not getting in a fight." And there's no way that I would have ever done that on a wedding day.
Yeah.
And because I was like, no way. And one of the it was actually the best man. He's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Oh, that dude over there, he jacked my photo off the internet, submitted it as his own on to Katie. He's like, dude, where? I'm like, no, we're not taking any thunder from their wedding day.
Right.
And so it was interesting. So then, I get to look at it. And last time I looked, there was 16 or 17,000 likes. I don't know how many shares. And so I had put it on my business page. I'm like, look, see if we can just share the shit out of this thing.
Right.
To try to get some of my thunder back, because it's gone. Like, no matter what I do, matter what I submit,
you're not going to get that back.
It's gone. So then, I'm like, do I give him a bill? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm just gonna learn from this.
Right.
So
and share that experience with everybody else.
So what I did is I created a watermark, and I had quit watermarking social media images a long time ago. Because I was like, most people know that it's Tim's image. That doesn't need to say that it's Tim's image. And I don't require any of my clients to tag me in anything. Some will do it. Some are like, hey, we want to tag you. How do we do that? Mm-hmm. And I don't ever require it. Like some photographers have that in a contract that like you have to tag me. And I'm like, nah.
Right.
Just share them. People ask, tell them who it is. That's all I ask. It's
and a lot of times, I don't even ask people that. To me, when the people are excited about the images, they're going to tag me anyway.
Right.
They are generally excited about it. If they're not, so be it.
Right.
I did the best I could with, the day that I had and everything to present, them images the way that they were. But yeah, typically, most of the time if a client's happy, like they're tagging you, they're saying, I recommend these people and that's typically how I leave it.
Right.
But I've also had issues with, and we've talked about this before too, doing some of these events and stuff like that. You'll have people that'll come, not even like your page or anything. They just show up for that image. They grab it and they take it.
Yep.
And if it's some high school kid or something like that, a lot of times it's not going to be the end of the world type of a thing. But when it starts being businesses and stuff like that, and people that make their living from what they're advertising with that image, what they don't realize is that copyright, since they're making a living from doing that, and that's their business page, they can get into some pretty big trouble with that.
Right.
Whether or not there's that watermark or not. And I know you've had somebody comment.
I had somebody who claimed to be a photographer say if it's not watermarked, it's free range, which is not true.
Correct.
And I pick my battles, and I'll get irritated. Melanie tells me to calm down, just get over it, right?
Yep.
And in this case, I don't know. I really don't know how to proceed, and so I created a different watermark this morning. I literally put a copyrighted watermark on and so now all of my sessions that go on Facebook are now going to have a copyright mark on them, just to protect myself. And I will have to start uploading more stuff to the government or the copyright office for stuff, and to keep it properly done. Which sucks, but it's like one bad apple kind of spoils the bunch. And it's like, I usually don't give a shit. I want people sharing my image, but if it's along personal stuff, I don't care. Right. Share it to friends, share, whatever. But when it goes to a news organization and somebody does that, I'm like, come on, that's a little malicious.
Yep.
You didn't say this was a photograph by somebody else. It literally says your name.
Yep.
So then I have an issue. So there's somebody, I could get in some groups and they're going to be like, you need to send them a letter and you need to do this. And
everybody's gonna have an opinion.
And I think what I'm going to end up doing, cause I was mad. I'm like, I'm just going to send him an invoice. I'm like, but it's not going to solve anything, right? It doesn't,
he's not going to,
he's not going to pay it, right? It's just going to make me look like a jackass even more, so I'm just going to have a conversation with him. Be like, hey, look, I know you thought what you were doing was cool.
Right.
Let's have it not happen again, like to anybody. Let's have you not do that to anybody again, and just give credit where credit is due, type of thing. And maybe education is better than punishment.
Right. Well, it's kind of like you talked about, with people with cell phones, and they're on a wedding day and stuff like that. You got that people that they're willing to ruin somebody else's photo to make sure they got that photo. but you found kind of a way around it, for group pictures especially. You got this whole line behind you, and eyes on group pictures are going to each and every one of them phones, and nobody knows who to look at.
Right.
When you start standing them right back behind you or in your spot, or saying, hey, let me get this and I'll let you get yours. But for something like that, somebody that has no real connection to that photo, sending that in, I thought that was kind of a...
Yeah, it was because I ended up calling the dad and I said, who is this? So, but it is what it is. At least I was given credit for it. I like the tags because it's a direct link back. If people have to go search, they don't go search, right?
Yep.
If there's a tag to click, then it's easier to tag. Yep. So
because most of the time people are not going to type that name.
It's just lesson learned, and it's one of those things that it's why I don't submit to news organizations very often unless I know them, like Stormlight Times and all this stuff. Like I have no problem sending Dolores images and stuff because
they've ran a lot of my pictures.
They've always been good to us. So if I catch something and I'm like, hey, do you want this for anything? I am more than happy to submit it. I don't send them a bill. I don't, just hey, you just make sure
you're going to get maybe $20 out of the thing, and it's really not worth it. Just advertise, and
put my name in because they've been good to both of us. I know that they have both ran full spreads of our images.
Yep. Me on multiple times. Different times I've had stuff in the Witter. For gallery shows, they advertised that. It didn't cost me anything. Times and the Pilot both have ran, full page or multiple.
Well, pages. I know the Pilot. I've had front page with some lightning pictures. And then the Times, she had done my Fox pictures and some rodeo stuff and everything, so it's been really good.
I got Fort Dodge now with Brady stuff. Brady, shot me a message here, a picture of the paper. I think that was last week, and we made the front page again. Nice. So, nice. And he makes sure that my name is always on there. Right. He tags me in everything, and even this last show, he had a nice article in the brochure about me, and that's something that he didn't have to do, but he went ahead and do. Right. As a client, he didn't need to do that, but he always makes sure to give me that credit for them images, and because I want to see him do well, and I go above and beyond for him and his organization, but then he does that in return as well, and that's what creates that big part, or them good partnerships, is that back and forth. And it's just like you and I, we're sharing information, we'll share equipment, we'll help each other out. If we don't have something going on that other person needs it, like, let me know, and we will, we make it work together.
Well, and even people I don't know, I will try to help. If I'm somewhere and they need something, I've had DJs, because I used to always carry a small soundboard with me when I do video, just because I wanted to be able to control. That was before I had the different recorders that could float.
Okay, yeah.
Float the audio. And so I could actually control the audio. Well, I was at Rollins Mansion in Des Moines, and he had everything set up top for the reception, and the ceremony was down at the garden area. And he's like, I got to move everything. I go, what do you need?
Right.
And he goes, well, I just need a soundboard. I go, I have one. You want to borrow it? And so he ended up using that. I think he used one of my microphones, like my wireless Sennheiser G4. He used that.
Yep.
And I carry a lot of the stuff, and just, I think that gets back to, I want my clients to have the best day possible, so I'm willing to help out everybody else to make sure that they have the best day possible. So if the DJ is having an issue, what do you need? Maybe I have something that I can help you with, and I have gas, right? I have the gear acquisition syndrome. Right. I like my stuff, but I've learned a lot over the last 15, 20 years of being self-employed, that I would rather be over-prepared and be able to help out than be under-prepared, because there's too many people in this industry, or in the world in general, that's like, not my problem.
Right. Yep.
And you know what? It's my client. It's my problem.
Yep.
I don't care if I'm we talked about helping the DJ get the sound going at one venue. And, it is my problem because it's my client, and I want them to have the best experience possible.
Right.
And then it was after you had left Saturday, I was talking to one of the ushers, and he's like, you just made this day just like smooth. And he goes, "You're a little loud," and that's and I mean, that's a common thing with Tim. Tim's a little loud.
Yep.
And these guys were really good. I actually had a great time with all of them. And he's like, "I'm not getting married yet, but I need your card."
Right.
You know, because you just helped make the day go smooth. I go, it's a team effort from everybody. You get the right team together.
Oh, you get the right team together, and that day's going to run smooth. But that's also
the DJ was perfect.
That's food.
The coordinator, the food was set up and tore down fast. Just everything worked. Like there was one snafu. Were you there when the bride or one of the groomsmen's girlfriend got hurt? I think you left.
Yes. Oh, no, you were still there. I was there.
So he'd spun her. He'd spun her, and then they lost balance, and then she hit the table. I think everything. I know everything. She's okay. But
yeah, that's a little scary there.
That was everybody kind of. It just stopped. But that was, I guess, if that's the only snafu. I mean, I had mother of the groom break her arm.
Yep, and then the following weekend, the broken eye socket.
Oh yeah, it was the week. Okay, so it was the week before was the broken eye socket, jumping into the lake when it was too low. Don't dive.
No, the arm was the first one. Because I was at that, you guys were talking about that. I'm like, if you do this 3 weekends in a row, you might want to consider doing something different. The arm was at the
waterfront. Mom broke her arm. The next weekend was at Gull Point, and we're in the I'm in the water with the wedding party.
I'm on the dock.
Yeah, and the groom goes to jump in. We're like, don't dive. Just it's shallow. Just jump in. So he goes and he falls in, and then when he goes, he tucks his head and smokes his eye socket.
Yep.
Cuts it open. Actually breaks his eye socket. The cool thing, if there's a cool thing to come out of it. So like half of the women there are women and guys there are nurses. So they're like checking him out.
Yep.
They ended up dragging it. They took him to the ER. And it's 9:30 at night.
Everybody's been drinking.
Everybody, so they wanted to make sure. And I had ran into Siege. I hadn't seen him for a while. I ran him doing Walgreens or something in Spencer. So well, hey, how's that? He goes, I never had to have surgery or anything.
Oh, that's good.
He goes, just a couple stitches, and he goes, it was good. He goes, now looking back, he goes, it was cool. I wish I would have listened. He goes, but we'll never forget it.
Right. Yeah. It'll be one of them deals you'll remember for the rest of your life. And,
right.
And there's pictures that go along with it, even though kind of the pictures kind of stopped about then. And,
well, I have pictures of him going into the water. Katie asked, she goes, can you take him down? I go, that's fine. I totally understand it. I'm like, it was kind of a cool picture, but your request, okay, no problem.
Yep.
No problem. I know there's some photographers that can be like, no, I own the image, I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not that.
That type of a deal, and I've even had it sometimes where I just don't even share like albums and stuff like that, and I just hopefully they'll share them, the ones that they like, because sometimes the photos that I think are really good, they like completely opposite ones.
Isn't that crazy?
And but it's. It goes back into the competition type of thing. Photography is so subjective. The way we all see and the way we all capture things, to what we like. And that was even yesterday down in Des Moines. We mentioned this at the start. I was down there for my analog film club. We get together and we had our biggest group yet. It was a great turnout. The meeting was fantastic. We had some really good discussions going on, and then afterwards, a group of us goes out, and there's 4 of us that happen to go out, and one of the guys had to bounce a little early, so there was 3 of us running around, and the one friend, he had mentioned, he wants to work some more in black and white. He's having a hard time seeing the world in black and white, but every time he's looking at black and white images, he's enjoying them. So I kind of talked to him about, what I'm looking for in a black and white image. And I found one. I found one that was going to be an amazing image, and I can't wait to develop the film and see kind of how it turns out. But I had picked up this lens the other day. I've been wanting to go wider so I can get in closer and include more because, with these wide lenses, this one's a 24, it's pushing everything further away so you can get in that much closer, because
right.
You're picking up such a wide ray. And so this shot that I found, I knew it was a 50 millimeter shot the second I seen it. And I asked him, I said, you got a 50 on? And I think he was rolling around with a 35. And he goes, no, I got a 50. I said, and he goes, do you want it? And I said, no. I'm like, put it on your camera. And I'm like, go stand right up here. And I'm like, you're going to frame it here. This tree's going to go dead center. This tree had some beautiful side light coming in. The building's basically flagging everything else. You have this nice dark building to the background. And he's shooting black and white. So all he's seeing is this yellow tree and some buildings. You know, he's not really getting what I'm looking at. And I'm like, when this goes to black and white, them leaves are going to go bright white. I'm like, so expose for them leaves. And I'm like, when you do that, that background's going to go dark. You're going to have the reflections in them windows with little white highlights all the way through them. So you're going to have this nice grid pattern. And I'm like, this tree is just going to just pop away from this building. And I'm like, when you get this image back, you're going to start seeing black and white images different. You know, and he wanted me to, you know, take that 50 and give it. But I'm like, no, you need to have this image because you're going to see what's going to happen when you start developing this. But it's, you know, it's giving back to other photographers and, you know, saying, look at this.
It is teaching them to look at things like you do and vice versa. And I know you and I have leaned on each other a lot because you're like, look over here, you know, because you look at everything. You look at a lot of things in black and white. Even if you're shooting in color, you still looking at that black and white way. You know, and I'm always looking for tones. You know, because that's always, you know, you are highlights and shadows, and I am skin tones. And you know, different things, but you know, skin tones and shadows. And when I was shooting yesterday, I was explaining, and she's like, "Why do you keep moving?" Like I'm like, "Light's not right, because I keep moving him and stuff, and I go. You wanted like badass, like literally badass is what I was told. I need badass shots. Okay. Badass needs shadows, Rembrandt lighting, loop lighting, different cross lighting, short lighting, you know.
Lighting is going to change it.
Right.
And
so,
the whole aesthetic and feel of that image can be changed by subtle little movements. Some of the street photographers, one of the sayings that they always talk about that I absolutely love, and I can't think of his name right now, but he always says the difference between a good photograph and a great photograph is fractions. It's just little movements. It could be a light here or there, or the difference from being here or up on your tippy toes. You know, when you start moving around, and that's what a lot of people don't understand.
There's a lot of people, they just stand up and they
do take that picture.
Of going down or up or sideways. Or
when they start moving around with that in there, you know, even if they're using a zoom lens, and that's what I don't like about a zoom lens for myself, is because when I start moving, you know, even on a wide angle lens, everything's moving, you know, around me. And you start watching this, and instead of watching, you know, if you're looking at this water bottle, look at the placement of everything else around that.
Right.
And, you know, like they say,
well, here, so, like, there's a lot of things that I will do. So we'll walk to a spot. I'm like, I think this is it. Hold on. And then I kind of do one of these, and I'm like, yep, nope, this will work. And people don't quite understand that. And I'm, you know, I always encourage people, like if we were, I think it was when we were in North Carolina this summer, and I think a dad had his camera or something out, and he's photographing like little kids,
senior,
you know. And I was like, just get low, because it's standing up, and I'm like, just get low and just see what happens, you know, just lower down and see what happens. Oh. And they try it. They're like, thanks. I mean, just always look for it, because sometimes I shoot high, sometimes I shoot low. It depends on the person. You know, I know you have shot really, really low on things, and I'm like, don't do it on that one. I don't like that one. But like, you know.
But sometimes it's that trying.
Right. So like, I'm a big chest height shooter. So, you know, even with the mirrorless, I still like to have it to my eye. Especially when it's bright out. But, you know, like today, I might struggle a little bit for a while just because the sun's going to be pretty intense here at 5 o'clock. But we'll move into evening a little bit on some of that. So, but that's, you know, we can talk a little bit more about that in depth. It's just why you use different. So like for me, when I shoot people, why I use different camera heights and what I use on whom.
Right. Yep.
or what I'm trying to convey.
Yep.
Right.
Because it changes that mood of that. You can have somebody look, larger than life when you start, going.
Well, I always
down.
tell them it's a superhero look. It's
Mm-hmm.
that hero look, and I will do it with girls, and I will do it with guys, and I will, it, and then I'll shoot families different. And so I had one of my returning families, and I don't take a lot of new families anymore. It's if you're already a client of mine, it's good. Otherwise, there's typically other people because we're so packed with seniors and weddings.
Right.
And then the commercial work. So like I don't do a ton with the families, and I'm okay with that because there's some other people that are really, really good. But we had the one family come back, and I just shot them the other day, and I think this is the third time. And it's funny because you kind of learn the kids.
Right. Yep.
And their older daughter she vibrates, man. That kid is just so full of energy, and I laughed because mom was like, I go to bed before she does. Like I just know she's in her room. I can hear her moving. But I just go, I just can't, right? And so I actually ended up, I just embraced all that energy with her, and I'm like, well, let's just put it to work,
that's her personality.
They can be running back and forth, and they can be running around mom and dad, and they can be doing all this stuff, and it just and it really, really helped, and it's, because even almost 7 years in, it's like I learn every session, and I learn from my clients, and I learn from my friends, and I shared that post on Facebook this morning of, do you want to spend $150,000 on education, or do you want to jump on YouTube? That there's all these channels that teach you all of this stuff, and and there's some people that there's some professions you have to have that education.
Right. Yeah.
Different medical professions, legal professions, computer stuff. There's a lot of stuff, but there's so much stuff in this world that can just be learned on a course online.
Yep.
Even if it's not, YouTube is just the gateway into that. But
it's an entryway to
to online education. I say online education because I wish more people or more employers would look less at the fact of somebody having some sort of degree and more of you can teach them how you want them to learn this. I did have a manager at a big company tell me one time the reason that he likes somebody to have a degree. Because I go, for what you do, like the people that work there don't need a degree. And he goes, here's why. I want them to be able to show me that they know how to start and finish something. So that made sense. Except like me, I can't start and finish an education. Like it has to be something that you're totally into. And I think there's a lot of fluff in the education stuff, but it just gets to back. There's so many resources out there. There's so many people out there, and there's so many ways to learn and do things. And there's just so many resources out there that and I have, now we're all into pay stuff because the free stuff we've exceeded. Right. And, again, that was that baby steps up the mountain.
Yeah, it's climbing that ladder too. So many people when they get started, they just want, well, why can't I just be here? Well, you haven't done that work to get there.
Right.
And
some people get there fast. Some people sprint up that mountain and
I could have,
I sprinted for about 100 yards. I got through the basics real fast, and then I'm out of shape. So, but no, and that it was just, and Gary Vee says it. You have time, and then he had a reel the other day, and it was I could be talking to an 80-year-old man. Oh, you have time. Right. You have time. You have time. And there's been so much in this world that has been hurry, 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 and less patience, patience, patience.
Yep.
And now we're at the patience part where we have to be patient with our development. And I want everybody to learn that it's baby steps. It is baby steps turn into leaps real fast.
Right. But make it fun along the way.
Right.
Like I love learning. I love trying new things. It's just like this weekend. I didn't have to be up there. I was not booked for that.
No, you weren't booked there, but I was
I went to try some stuff, and because I got my weekends wrong. I thought I was, and you were like, "Oh no, that's next weekend," and you're like, "You can come if you want." I'm like, "I can come." I'm like, "It'll give me a chance to try some stuff," and that's that's what it did, and I am constantly learning, and my photography to me is not good enough yet. And it'll never be there. And like I've told you before, I'm like, the second I think that I've made it and I'm done, I'm done. Like I'll be on to the next thing, and it's just like
it'll be over.
And
I always say the second I think I'm hot shit, Melanie smacks me in the back of the head and resets me. So, because we've all had those moments. You're like, yeah, this is it. And I've worked with other photographers, and like, yeah, I'm the best. Mm-hmm. I'm the greatest. Now, when they were saying that at that time, they weren't. Mm-hmm. And maybe to them, it's their mindset. It really gets them in that mindset. But I have seen some images, and there's one photographer in particular, and she was saying that, and I was like, you're good, mm-hmm. but like, man, like you're just so great. I'm like, I don't know. She posted some images from last weekend.
Pretty good.
There's some dope images in there. I was like, to Mel, I go, did you see them? Did you see them? And they're, and some were just, very hard, flat, light. Which actually kind of worked, and then there were some other ones that were just, and it's easy to go, well, the couple's easy to photograph, mm-hmm. Because I'm always, they look like they're easy to photograph. Well, how the heck do I know?
Right, yeah.
Right. As far as I know, they were difficult, and she just did an amazing job mm-hmm. shaping them and turning them
and guiding them into.
But there was a couple images that I was like. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's a wall hanger, even if I don't know them people.
Yep. And that's what a lot of people like don't get to, and they just think they see some of your really good stuff, and they're just like, that's all they shoot is bangers. There's a lot of stuff that I delete, and I'm just like, what was I thinking here?
How many people? You want to jump up and hit that? Just hit the shutter button on that one more time. There we good. Yeah, you're good. So how many people do you deliver an image to that you weren't going to deliver it? So like I've had that a couple times where mm-hmm. I'm going through images and I'm like, I'm not delivering this image. Mm-hmm. And Melanie's like, just put it in the gallery. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't want to. She's like, put it in the gallery. And it's her favorite.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Like that's crazy. That is just
one that's a little out of focus and stuff like that.
A little soft, I've had that.
There's a difference of like you completely miss focus or there's a little soft. Mm-hmm. And especially after shooting film, and that's what this is, it's a film camera. Mm-hmm. I learned.
Did you see? It's a Nikon mat.
Yeah.
That's like a Nikon. That's like the closest thing to Nikon that Jason gets.
Me, is a tool, and I have so many different brands of cameras, and my oldest camera is almost 100 years old, and it works.
Yeah.
And to me, they're tools.
Yep.
And the photos, and I'm going to show you some here later. Last night I was sitting, I bet I spent an hour and a half sitting and laying in bed going through photo after photo after photo. And I found a few Instagrammers and I just love their stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's a texture and there's something different about it.
Right.
And I'm really into the abstract stuff. And there's something about it that I can't quite figure out, but I came up with new ideas. Yeah. And I think these are digital, but I figured out some ways to do it in the darkroom that I want to try. And like I was saying at the beginning of this, my life's beginning to switch again because I will switch gears and I will go back into driving truck this winter. Mm-hmm. I even got a phone call about driving a truck this morning. I'm like, I just got too many edits. I'm like, there's no way I can.
Right.
And then so once that switches and I get these edits done, it's going to be jumping back in the darkroom, getting that stuff ready. My Christmas present to myself this year, my plan is a printer for digital stuff as well as film, but the bulk of my film work, I want to darkroom print that.
Yeah.
I bought out a darkroom or traded, some work for some darkroom equipment. And then I was able to get some papers in there. Hopefully the papers are still in good working quality. If they are, they should help produce some really killer images because of the age of the paper and the way that I plan on printing them. If I can figure out that alternative process, like it should be pretty good. And then with what I was looking at last night, it just gave me some ideas of things to try. So it's not even, it's not always about learning, about shooting. It's the learning on the developing and people don't realize the amount of work that goes into an image after that's shot. And,
half of your house is dedicated to that. I've seen it.
Yep.
But that's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing. Like and I know you've wanted to push me into a little bit more of that, and maybe
eventually we might.
Eventually over time when I slow down a little bit, I'm looking forward to this winter being able to take some time. I think I was trying to get Nikon to send me to 100 to 400 Z lens. Reached out to them this morning. Unfortunately, I don't have any available yet, so I might just. Because I found that 600 f4. I've talked to Hudson Henry a couple times about it. And he's like, you can handhold it some, but you're gonna want a monopod. I don't know if you want a monopod. He's like, that 400 4.5 is a beast, and it's the right price.
Yep.
So I might see if I can find one. I'm just looking for winter because I've got one of my clients yesterday just is getting some land bought that's got a couple stands, heated stands in it.
Yep.
So I guess call me a wuss as much as you want, but I like to stay warm. But I've got a few places, and I would like to just sit down and just have some quiet wildlife photography time, and maybe get out west this winter to try to get some wildlife stuff, and maybe I'll rent a lens. Nikon's supposed to be coming out with like a 2 to 600. So I'm kind of dragging my feet right now, but I think it's going to be economical enough that I can buy both lenses. But in the meantime, I've got some other things some investment properties that I need to get bought, and try to keep everything rolling. But so we do need more suggestions. Otherwise, Jason and I can sit here and ramble for months and months and months about the same shit over and
things over and over.
But like if anything sparks your interest that you're curious about, whether it's I don't want to say necessarily cameras or lenses because that is so subjective, but
because equipment, just like you were teasing, he's got some Nikon stuff, and equipment is equipment. There's some great tools for specific needs out there, but it varies so much. If you want the sharpest of the sharp, start looking at who's got the sharpest lenses.
I'm not like some of these people are just like, it's got to be super sharp. And I'm like, not necessarily. Now, I mean, good equipment does help. So we've been investing here. We're slowly. So Jason had bought the Zoom P4, the podcast one. So, and then this is the one that we were talking about last week. So this is the F3. So this is my recorder. I'm basically gonna use it for weddings, and then for this, Jason's gonna take the P4 with him and a couple microphones. So when he's in Des Moines and stuff, they can just sit down and they can grab a microphone and they can chit chat. And that way we can get some different content from some different sources, slowly upgrading stuff in here, trying to get it so anytime that we can, it literally
we can sit down. Yeah,
it took 10 minutes. It took 10 minutes to have it set up today.
You messaged me today, and you're like, "Hey, how about this afternoon?" I'm like, "Yep, give me a little bit. I can make it up."
But yeah, ideas, anything else like that. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep pulling stuff out of our hat, trying to figure out what we want to chit chat about.
The one thing I'd like to do is, pull up some of our images, and maybe if there's some people that want to submit some images for critique or something like that. We could
awesome.
Do that and talk about that. Maybe especially if we know kind of the situation of the photo, where you were, kind of your thought process behind it, and then maybe how we would approach that differently. And it's not that our way is right or wrong; it's just different.
Right.
Because even you or I, and we were even talking about the lights, that's a subjective thing.
Right.
Why are you setting this up and where? And sometimes it's a trial and error type of a thing. Like, that didn't work. Let's try.
Well, even down here, I keep trying to get it because I don't want it to look like super flat. I want to have some shadows. So, and that's again, that's a subjective thing. I will try to figure out a way that they can submit anonymously.
Okay.
Just because some people are like, I want to submit an image, but I don't.
I would say just PM.
Yeah, you could just send a message in. If you don't want your name messaged, we will totally respect that. We just want to go over the image, and we just want to help everybody else become better photographers.
Right.
And along with our journey, because we would not be where we are at without other people helping us, or YouTube or different content creators. And I'm not going to go into doing a whole bunch of gear stuff. Like I'm not a gear review guy. I do have people ask me a lot of times like about things, and I've had other photographers. Like if you want to know about something, Tim knows a lot about, especially like in the Nikon world. I know a lot about what does what really good and what doesn't.
Yeah, when it comes to Nikons, I don't
but
know
like
anything,
specification stuff, like I don't. I just know what works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, yeah, but you have this Z9. What's what? It's in the shop. Like it's in the shop now.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I just know how it works. Like I don't like all the specifications and this
There's
sensor and all this. I don't
yeah.
know what any of that shit does.
There's plenty of people out there doing that type of
There's
thing.
all kinds of reviews,
not...
but to talk about certain things, I did have somebody reach out about Samsung. I think it was a Samsung, some earbuds.
Oh, okay.
We'll send them to you, do like a video review, and I'm like, nah.
It's not really.
Nah, it's not my thing. Like and it's not really the way I do things. At least not yet. Like I've got to get established and get it all figured out. And at some point maybe. But I'm like earbuds. Right.
This is a lot more about the tools we use, how we use them, and why we use the ones we do.
Right.
We both have different choices in camera gear and for different reasons. And it's also looking at the future, going into the future, like knowing the direction that we want to go as photographers and, positioning that equipment that fits that.
Right.
Because not every camera will, any camera will make an image. It's just what's the best tool or the package of tools to have.
Well, and my tools require video. So there's a certain reason that I've done certain cameras and certain things. It is just the video side. If I was only doing photo and none of it was fast action, I'd just go grab my old D750.
Yep.
I mean,
it works.
It works, right? And my D500, if I needed fast action, it works. But there's video stuff, and I do a lot of video production, and so that's why I have ended up where I've ended up. So send your suggestions in, send your ideas in, send images in, just send some stuff in, so we got something to talk about, and we can see if we can help.
We're getting plenty of views. We're looking for that feedback just to cater it more to what specifically people want to hear, because otherwise we'll just talk about what we want to talk about. So, and maybe that's what everybody's looking for, and get to know us more, on a little bit more of a personal basis and creative basis, and go from there.
What time is it?
You're gonna have to go. You're to shoot because you got.
I gotta leave I gotta leave soon. But anyway, thanks for checking in. My name is Tim.
I'm Jason.
This is Exposed.
See ya.
Peace.